The problem with a lot of us is that we don't know how bad our God is. We don't know how awesome he is. Because if you can take a million people out into the desert and take care of their every need for 40 years without them ever having a job and depending on nothing else solely but what you can do for them, then I say to you that you are a bad man, and I need to bow down to you, and I need to serve you and worship you every day.
Thank you, Jesus. Hey, and let God. You gotta and let God. Don't worry about it. And let God. Cast your burden and let God. Let God do it. Let God do it. Let God do it. Let God do it. Don't worry about it. You gotta let him do it. Don't cry about it. You gotta let him do it. While you're staying up all night. While you're worried about it, you can't work it out. Let God do it. Let God do it.
Notice Nehemiah 9 and verse number 21. And the Bible says 40 years, this is the writer talking, you sustained them in the wilderness. Woo! See, somebody should have already had in you. Whoa. I mean, we talk about what we go through. But I ain't never heard a 40-year testimony where somebody was going through for 40 years. Come on. Some of us, to us, 2 weeks is like 40 years when it comes to trouble. Come on, y'all know, you know that's right. Some of you, 2 weeks is like a year to you. We've been really going through it. You saying that on a Wednesday. When did it start? I don't know. Seemed like Monday morning, just all hell broke loose. 3 days? Come on. But look at the power of God. See, when you love the word, it don't take much to get you excited. Come on. You be sitting beside somebody that love the word and you read 3 or 4 verses, they like, whoa, Jesus. 40 years you sustained them in the wilderness. You took care of them. See, like it or not, sometimes God got to let us go through something that he can prove to us once and for all. I can take care of you. I can do a better job than what your mama did. I'll do for you what your job don't want to do. I can take care of you. And I can do it as long as I need to do it. 40 years you sustained them in the wilderness. Watch how bad he is. They lacked nothing. Woo, some of you about to come into that place. That's what God is saying. Some of you about to come in that place. It's been 10 years coming. They lacked nothing. I know what it's like to go to the store and just really be able to say, I don't lack some stuff I want, but I don't lack nothing. This he did in the wilderness. Watch how bad he is. Their clothes did not wear out, and their feet did not swell. You took care of them folk, God. That's the only thing you can say after that verse. You took care of them folk. Some of us ain't been in no wilderness, and our clothes been worn out. But he said their clothes didn't even wear out. Their feet did not swell. It was what we have to call being sustained divinely. And so based upon that, look at a person and tell them the subject this morning, divinely sustained. Look at somebody else and say the subject this morning is divinely sustained. And ask that person, have you ever experienced it for yourself. Like it or not, most of us as people, as humans, if we be honest with ourselves and with others, until we truly mature in God, there are certain things we simply don't want to go through. There are certain paths that we don't want to have to go down. Oh yeah, we'll talk about the past. We'll talk about certain things and how God can do this, that, and the other. But if we be honest, that's a path that we really don't want to go down. It's amazing how when we just check ourselves sometimes that there are just certain things that we don't want to go through. There are just certain things, if God was to allow us to choose whether or not we were going to go through any type trouble, some of us would never go through trouble. Our name would be never go through trouble. Hey, my name is so and so. What's your name? Never go through trouble, because it's not what we would choose. Come on, somebody, just be honest. It's not what we would choose. And even after you get mature in God, if you still be honest with yourself and others, there are still certain paths you don't want to go down. Oh, I'm going to tell you, I'll preach Job all day, but I don't want to go down that path that Job had to go down. Saving is something that God himself has said about me. You've got to go through it like Job went through it. Other than that, Lord, just let me stay on the course that you have prepared for me. Come on, some of you not being honest, you know, left up to you, you would never go through no trouble. Everything in your life would work out wonderful. Every time you pray, you get an answer in 5 minutes. When you ask God to do something, he'll jump and do it for you quick, fast, and in a hurry. Come on, tell your neighbor, show he right, show he right. Yeah, he telling on some of us, we wouldn't go through no trouble. We wouldn't go through any difficulty if left up to us. But there are times that God recognizes that I'm not going to leave it up to you. I must allow you to go through some things in order that I might humble you. I've got to let you experience this so that when I finally bless you and bring you into a good place, you ain't going to look down on nobody. I got to bring you through this so that when I bless you, you won't give yourself the credit. You won't talk about how wonderful you are. You won't talk about how smart you are. You will tell for everything that happened in my life that was good, God did it. You better shout to somebody, God did it. Shout it again, God did it. Shout it again, God did it. When you see me driving good, when you see me living good, oh, shout it to somebody, God. Y'all ain't ready yet. I said God did it. Be seated. But we have to go through things in order to be humbled. And so one thing that God will allow his people to experience is what we call the wilderness or the desert. He sometimes has ordained that brother so-and-so is faithful. He's been doing everything that I asked him to do. But now it's time to let him go to the wilderness. Got to take him to a desert place. And I know brother so-and-so, he want everybody to go with him. But I'm going to make sure this time that he going to travel this seemingly alone. Ain't nobody. I'm taking him there all by himself. And see, some of you, that's where you at this morning. You are in a wilderness type place. You are in a desert type place. And I come to preach real hard this morning because when it comes to the wilderness, when it comes to the desert, you don't ever want to underestimate the desert. You don't ever want to underestimate a wilderness experience. Oh, because can I preach it right? It ain't nothing to play with. You better be ready when God says it's time for a wilderness wilderness journey. It doesn't have to be 40 years. I'm talking about if God give you a 3-day wilderness journey, you better be ready, because in the wilderness some strange stuff can sometimes manifest out there. Can I get any witness? Anybody that right now feel like you in a wilderness type place? Can I get a witness from somebody that say, Pastor, just come out of that place, just left the desert, just left a place that God said was necessary for what he was doing in my life. I'm about to move on, but I come to tell you this morning that if you really want God to use you and you want to be anointed by God, then there is no other option except every now and then you got to go down the wilderness path. You got to go to the desert that you can tell somebody else something. Oh, I don't want nobody preaching to me that ain't ever been in the desert. I don't want nobody prophesying to me, but you ain't been through nothing. I don't want you telling me that everything gonna be all right, and you ain't ever been in a situation where it didn't look like it was gonna be all right. Let somebody preach to me that's been there. Let somebody tell me that you can survive even in the wilderness, that God does not change. That's the reason some of us are able to help people, because we've been in certain places. We've experienced certain things, and we found out that he's the same God in the wilderness that he is in the city. Come on, I said we found that out. Come on, somebody. We ain't them folk think you got to be in the city to prosper. We found out God will prosper you down in the country. You ain't got to move nowhere that's major in order to be blessed. God will find you out in the country. He'll find you out in the field. Ask David about it. When folk left him out there, it was God that asked Jesse, have you got another boy? Look at somebody before you be seated. Just tell somebody, God know how to find you. Ooh, good God. Tell another person, God know how to find you. Anybody in here, he bless you in the country? Anybody, God bless you when you were making minimum wage? We often think we need certain things. But I come to tell you, when God got his hands on you, you will prosper without a job. You will do good with less. Oh, Lord, have mercy. Let me give you 3 things that the wilderness represent. Number 1, it represents an uninhabited place. An uninhabited place. An uninhabited place. Number 2, it represents a dry place. A place that is normally unfruitful or a sterile place. Yeah, most of the time when you look at the wilderness or you look at a desert place, from a natural standpoint, you're looking at a place that is seemingly unfruitful. Not a whole lot of water in the wilderness. Not a whole lot of fruit trees growing in the wilderness. And so that makes it, number 3, an uncomfortable place or position. Yeah, when you in the wilderness or when you in the desert, it can be a place where you're not comfortable. I'm talking from a natural standpoint. I'm here, but I'm not comfortable. Too much behind for me to be comfortable. Got too many bills that need to be. This is an comfortable place. Especially because when you preach like that, there are folk that say, well, Pastor, as long as I can remember, bills have been behind. I just learned to be behind. I just learned how to deal with it. And I learned how to pay half of this and a third of that and send this here and then withhold that and send it over there. But see, sometimes everybody ain't like you. Sometimes people will get accustomed to their bills being paid. Sometimes they get accustomed to paying them ahead of time. Sometimes they'll sit down and decide what they want to pay off because there's enough money to cancel debt. So which one do we want to cancel? Do we want to get all three, or do we just want to do one right now? But then all of a sudden you'll go from that type place back to the place where you got to send a half and you got to send a third, and you just can't get comfortable with this. Oh, come on. You used to go into the store shopping and getting whatever you want. That's the place you like to be in. But now all of a sudden you come to tell me I'm back in a place where I'm window shopping. I'm back in a place asking for secretly or quietly, do you have a layaway? Can I put this there? Oh, come on here, son. Somebody ain't ever been there, but I come to tell you, be careful how you look at people, because you can be in the city today, you can be in a good place today, but then tomorrow, oh, here goes your wilderness, here come your desert, baby, here come your time. Come on here, somebody. I'm preaching right up in here. See, right now there are people that used to getting up going to work. They used to clocking in. Right about now they'll be receiving their bonuses, but they've been without a job for months, and that just ain't comfortable. And then those that have them getting up every day going complaining. So it can be an uncomfortable place. Sometimes hard to even preach it in the church because most folk want everybody to think, hey, got it going on over here. We blessed over here. Don't hardly get too many cheers when you say, uncomfortable over here. Things getting low over here. But it happens to people who you never think is happening to. I know I'm on it. God is on it this morning. Yeah, it happens to people who look a certain part. Don't tell me you ain't ever been sharp from your toes all the way to your riding in something good. But if the truth be told, my pockets are empty and my tank is almost on E. If y'all knew what certain folk were going through, you say stuff like, not her. Finally understand that wilderness is again the place that you don't want to underestimate. Let me deal with it from a natural standpoint before I move farther. Sometime back, years ago, the U.S. took what was considered the greatest military on the face of the planet. Technology that other nations had not tapped into, our military had. But we was about to invade a nation where folk were warning our leaders that it's going to be a different fight because now y'all going in the desert. Oh, come on. But see, we had certain leaders who felt like Desert Storm ain't going to be a problem for the greatest military army that has ever existed. Oh, but it took a couple of months for some generals to recognize that we have underestimated the desert. Come on here, somebody. Because our machinery that worked in our country is having trouble with all this sand. Things are failing that normally work. Wonder, are you there? Wonder if you had a plan. That if certain things ever happen, I'm going to do this. But now those things have happened. And you can't do what you thought you would do. See, that's what you call desert. And that's when so many folk, when they enter the desert, they get defeated in the desert. But see, God says about his people, 40 years I sustained them. 40 years I took care of them. And so you hear a whole lot of preachers talking about how from Egypt to the promised land was 2 or 3 weeks. And why couldn't they just make a simple 3-week journey but spent years in the desert? Can I teach right? Because see, sometimes God gonna allow something to persist a little bit longer than you would desire. You're gonna be in this a little longer than you thought. And so Nehemiah, the book of Nehemiah tells us that for 40 years, God all by himself sustained what many say was 1 million plus people. Can I talk right? The problem with a lot of us is that we don't know how bad our God is. We don't know how awesome he is. Because if you can take 1 million plus people out into the desert and take care of their every need for 40 years without them ever having a job and depending on nothing else solely but what you can do for them, then I say to you that you are a bad man and I need to bow down to you and I need to serve you and worship you every day of my life, because that takes something. Most of us can't take 3 people to Florida and back and say we got everything. It's on me. But God took them out in the wilderness and said, everything is on me. Whoa, come on here, somebody. Some of you won't even take folk to your favorite restaurant without the waiter showing up and you quickly say, this good mine and Dale. Wait, ain't even got out their mouth and you won't bread yet. Oh, it's 2 ticket mine in there. Don't make sure y'all don't. Sometimes you even before you won't tell them chill, I ain't gonna put nothing on you. Come on. See, I'm trying to make it practical. Because I done took a family of 3, 4 to Orlando. Everybody won. Everybody reaching. And you know in them pockets only go so deep. But God took 1 million plus people into the desert and basically told them, come on, I got you. Lord, ain't no bread out here. What we gonna eat? I'm gonna give you manna. You're gonna wake up in the morning and it's gonna be laying on the ground. When Israel woke up, when they saw that manna was on the ground, something to eat was just laying there. They wondered, what in the world is this? They did not know what it was, and they called it manna because they didn't know what in the world is this. This is what God dropped for y'all while you were sleeping. I come to tell you, he'll drop stuff. But then they messed around and got thirsty out there and didn't have no well and couldn't dig it in the desert. And God told Moses, hit a rock. And he caused water to flow out of a rock. You better tell somebody God got over 1 million ways to bless you. Be seated, be seated, be seated, because this is the meat of it. When the writer looked back at it, he said, for 40 years you sustained them. I got to teach it right. 4 meanings of sustain. See if it sounds familiar. Number 1, in the wilderness, he was their support. And he was the one who was going to maintain them. I'm going to keep you up. Lord, all this going on, what we going to do, Lord? I'm going to keep you up. Isn't it amazing how if a lying relative tell us they're going to help us, we believe them. But if God say he going to help us, we want proof. Just give me the tithe. Give me the 10th. And I'll open up the windows of heaven. I'll pour you out a blessing that you ain't got room enough to receive. I'll even rebuke the devourer for your sake. But when it gonna start, Lord? He watched over them. Just like he's doing for some of us, God is, he's nourishing us. Woo! I don't know if you ever seen a newborn baby latch on to his mama's breast. But that baby quickly learns where his nourishment comes from. Oh, where he going with that? It's amazing how God can nourish some of us. And you think we remember from whence came our milk. But as soon as you get in trouble, you forgot your nourisher. You forgot the one that helped you. But it's amazing how that baby, once he lashes on to that mama's breast, he doesn't ever forget where that milk comes from. They tell me he can smell it or she can smell it. And sometimes when a mama holds a baby close to her, she can just bring him in just a little bit of her. But then all of a sudden, because that baby knows from whence comes that nourishment, that baby will start trying to latch on to you. And God forbid, you can be a man, but if you're a little healthy up in there and you mess around and hold a baby and put him in the right position, he'll go to start thinking you want to nourish. Oh, come on, somebody. But I'm trying to preach to you is that you can't forget who nourished you. You can't forget who brought you up. You can't forget who had you when you were broke. You can't forget who had your back when folk left. You can't forget who nourished you.
Thank you for watching A Word for Deliverance with Pastor Leonard Cochran of A Place of Refuge, Noonan. A Place of Refuge is located at 10 Fisher Alley in the city of Noonan, Georgia. If you would like to visit us, our worship times are every Sunday at 10:15 a.m. and Wednesdays at 7:15 p.m. To order today's message on CD, please call the church office at 770-252-3855 and reference the order number on the screen.